One of the great burnout researchers, Christina Maslach, had a wonderful phrase back in the 80s. Imagine investigating the personality of cucumbers to discover why they had turned into sour pickles without analyzing the vinegar barrels in which they've been submerged. So if we want to understand depression and we want to understand anxiety, we have to understand the person in context. Okay, so here's where the fun begins. So, there's lots of different causes of burnout and stress. And again, since we weren't supposed to show PowerPoint, I really wasn't going to, John, but just so that my bullet points are really engaging, I've attached them to wiffle balls. You're welcome to take these on your vacation with you. They got mixed up on my bag, so they're not all perfectly in order, but, very quickly, causes of work, stress, and burnout, expectations that, well, you get the idea, that exceed the person's capacity to respond, long or unpredictable work hours, required rather than elective and unpredictable overtime, lack of a boundary between work and non-work time. I'm not really a baseball player is the problem either. Facilitated by information and communication technology, lack of control over work processes. Oh, that one almost made it. Redundancy and boredom, too many new skills and tasks to master simultaneously, multitasking, conflict between relationship time and work time. There's a few more. Okay. I'm saving the big wiffle balls for the big points that I'm going to make. So there's small wiffle balls. And so the effects of overwork and overscheduling, as we've heard, I'm going to really run through this. I have a little clinical tape that I want to show you. So I don't want to belabor something that's already been discussed beautifully. But increased negative physiological and emotional arousal, that is sympathetic nervous system arousal, chronic work-related stress, physiological associated with depression, anxiety, sleep disorders, alcohol and substance abuse. That chronic stress and physiological arousal is a component, often a cause, and certainly a component of these so-called psychological disorders. And then work-related stress and negative spillovers associated with coupled distress, and coupled distress feeds back into work issues. It's a bidirectional loop. So we have to look at that negative work spillover and also how it starts to spin relationally, really, into a vicious cycle. And coupled distress, of course, has been well known to be associated with depression. So it's a full picture that we have to address. So how can vacations and recreation reduce depression or other mental health problems? By providing opportunities for removal from work-related stressors and sources of suffering and negative self-worth, and exposure to activities that engender pleasure, new experiences, mastery, and increased self-worth. Very important. Let's see if the big balls make it out to you. Look, it's better. Reduction in stress hormones and increased parasympathetic nervous system activity. It's interesting, there's a kind of convergent validity here with Sarah and Joe's and Arnie's talk and mine, so we're all converging. We didn't share our PowerPoints before the talks today. Reduction in stress hormones, as I said, reconnection with partners, children, and other important relationships, increase in social support and just love and connection. That's really important for mental health. Regeneration, recreation, renewal, reflection, and reconsidering of one's life course. All really important. There you go. Okay, are you interacting with me? Look at that. Okay, there we go. Oh, there's one for you. Okay, all really important. I still have a little time, I hope? Okay, so it's not so simple, though. Burnout and job stress significantly are lower than pre-vacation levels immediately after vacation, but many studies have shown that they return to pre-vacation levels 4 weeks later. So as Sarah said, we have to work with, and Joe too, we have to work with companies and people also to think about the workload that they're coming back to, because that can just smash people down, make them feel guilty for taking the vacation, and bring all the problems back. Disappointing, constraining weather on vacation. I found an interesting study in Sweden where they're longing all year for sun and a break. Maybe you in Seattle know that, but not in your recent history, but generally. And then if it rains on your whole vacation, it's a bummer. And you can actually end up feeling quite stressed. Personality variables also are associated with the experience of leisure. So we have to think about the person in the vacation. Some folks, come into the vacation, so severely depressed or sort of negative in their attitudes that they're seeing all the things that are wrong with the vacation, that are not going right, and that can, have a spillover also to the rest of the family, if it is family. So here's a few suggestions, many of which I've already thrown out in my baseball frenzy there. It's really important to avoid contact with workplace and email, because even one little look, right? One little look, you say, well, I'm just going to check the weather, or I'm going to, use it to find directions, and then suddenly you see emergency issue at the job, and your whole groove is blown. So I really recommend to people, they just have to turn it off, because it can just get that whole sympathetic nervous system kicked up again in a second, right? Does everybody agree with that? Yes, it's really dangerous, actually. And I bet some of the heart attacks on vacations have to do with, okay, you get to the destination, you're finally going to try to calm down, you check your email once, and there's this massive thing that says must call office, and there you go. It certainly spoils the groove. So picking vacations most likely to have positive effects. So consider the balance between challenge and ease. And consider, of course, in families and couples, the desires of everyone, so that it doesn't become yet another example of one person dominating the family and everyone being miserable just like they are at home. Avoid overscheduling and time pressure. Consider a balance between regular daily rhythm versus daily novelty. Right? Too much novelty can be stressful. Too much similarity can be boring. So, and again, with someone who's depressed or anxious, it becomes even more important to really think through, what would be the right vacation for you at this time, not just to pick anything. Does that make sense? People to really sort of think about where people are at when they are suffering from some psychological difficulties. Setting realistic expectations for the effects. I mean, if you've really been struggling with burnout, okay, and depression or anxiety, not to expect the vacation to cure you necessarily. It might, but if it doesn't, not to get blown away by that. So not to come in with expectations that are too great, and then once those are dashed, you're feeling awful. This is very important. This is going to lead me to my video. It's really important to practice vacation-taking capacity. There's actually some research that shows, that when people are not practiced in relaxing and taking a break, they can't do it when they finally take that vacation 6 years later or 2 years later or even a year later. They're just not able to make the shift, and they find themselves ruminating a lot about work and other responsibilities. So I work with couples. Every single couple I see in New York needs help with this, which is how to take time in the day, how to decompress at the end of the day, how to decompress and enjoy the weekends, and that all sort of leads to the greater capacity for longer stretches of breaks. And then, of course, as we've heard, the importance of keeping the vacation alive and not letting it just be this isolated thing.